Endgame was unreal. It's still my favorite Marvel movie. I would argue that Infinity War is maybe the better movie.
For me, it is actually.
Uh,
Infinity
but
is my favorite.
but Endgame is my favorite. It's just Endgame has the moments
Yes.
that make it fun, where Infinity War was brilliant. Um, but and I lose myself in Cap and the Hammer every single
Thank
time.
you.
That
That's the
was
moment.
that was the
We
best fucking moment.
all just like what, and then
That's
like just like
that's.
boom.
Did
I'm
you
like,
see the thing where at the Oscars they had some stupid award for the best
yes, dude. The
moment in
winning
a theater,
it
and
was
it
hacked,
was
dude.
yeah, it had to be garbage because
No,
it was something DC. It was something related
it was
to
the Flash
oh
in
yeah yeah,
from JL.
which wasn't even good. Like the Flash showing up in the Justice League that was in the theaters was not a good moment.
No.
Like it was fine, but the one when they redid it in
Yes.
the Snyder cut,
Yes.
that was much better, and I can see people being excited about it. But dude, I was in the theater for that fucking moment with the whole just that whole last scene, Avengers Assemble,
Yes.
the
Come on.
Cap getting the
Come on.
hammer, all of it.
That's number
That
one.
was unreal. Like
Number
that was
one.
a moment.
Number one.
Yeah.
I will tell you, Cap getting the hammer was epic. I mean, epic for sure. Capital E, epic. But I still think, for me, on your left,
Well, yeah.
for,
Yeah,
for
yeah,
me
yeah.
personally,
Just
it
just the
trumps the
whole
hammer.
end of that movie. Just the
The
whole
whole
end of
third
that
act.
movie.
Everything from literally when fucking Ant-Man looks out the window and then like the fucking shadow
Mhm.
shows up. Like everything from that moment is just like that's when
Yeah.
you know shit is on.
When I bought it and I got it at home for the first time, I just fast forwarded right to that.
Yes.
Like I know I wanted to watch the whole thing, but I fast forwarded right to it, and I was just like, this is what I'm going to watch.
You hear the heat?
Yeah. So I guess I don't know what Pete's doing, so maybe we'll just start with him and let him hop in if he decides to wake up.
He's being a little bitch.
Yeah, I guess his tummy hurt. What a little weenie.
Maybe I'll just say like, hey, just don't go on camera.
And it's not his face that hurts; it only kills us.
Yeah, seriously, having him not be on camera would probably be better.
Yeah. Welcome to the All Pop No Culture podcast. I am your host this week, Kevin. I am joined for the first time in a long time by both Andrew and Andy. At the moment, we don't have Pete, which, at least visually isn't much of a loss, but he will hopefully be on in a few minutes. We shall see. He was feeling under the weather, took some medicine, so history shows us that he'll probably pass out and not show up, but there's always a chance.
Yeah,
for
his skirt
those,
was he put his skirt on way too tight today.
Yeah, well, I've seen him. Everything's too tight. So for those of you new to the show, we're a pop culture centered podcast, mostly talking about TV and movies, sometimes video games. We follow most of the streaming services, HBO, Disney Plus, Stars, Paramount Plus, you name it. This
Tubi.
week, yeah, what? Oh, Tubi.
Tubi.
Yes.
Hulu as well.
Yeah, Hulu, Netflix, AMC Plus,
Amazon
History Channel,
Prime.
Amazon Prime, Ancient Aliens, buddy. This week we're going to talk about what we've watched. We've had like a couple of weeks where we haven't talked about what we've watched, so that's going to be a laundry list of shit. And then at the second half, we're going to talk about a gentleman who is stepping away from his career, and no, not Will Smith. We're talking about the one Mr. Bruce Willis. Although ironically, I saw today that Netflix is dropping a Will Smith film after his shenanigans. So that's
Consequences, baby.
That's the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll just roll along. So Andy, I feel like you've been out the longest. I don't know. You want to go over what you've been watching while you've been having better things to do than hang out with us?
God, so much to talk about.
I know, right?
What have I watched? So I mentioned I from Bruce Willis' perspective, I did watch Armageddon recently, which I enjoyed. I've been diligently watching Picard, which has been fantastic. I again, I won't. If we want to go into detail, I can, but I will refrain until we go in a group conversation about it.
Yeah, I'm a few episodes
Um,
behind. My wife doesn't really want to watch it until they're all there and she can just blow through them.
I did watch the first 2 episodes of Halo, and I know, Kevin, you have some concerns about that, which does feel very close to a Mandalorian spinoff. But for what it's worth, I'm enjoying it. Like I'm not gonna not watch it. I've liked it.
Do you guys remember if in the chat if Pete said he watched Halo? I can't
I don't
remember
know.
if he did or not, because I was going to say we can wait for him to talk about it, or we can just throw it out there since he
Nah,
brought it up. Yeah,
let's
fuck him.
talk about it. Andrew,
Yeah.
you're on mute.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Yeah, let's talk about it. So Halo, I never played the. Well, I can't say I never. I've played Halo with my son, but I don't play Halo. Like I don't. That's not something that I do.
I've never played a moment of Halo. I have no idea what the story is. I know the name Master Chief because it's been part of like video game, the lexicon
Lore.
for
Yeah.
ever. But like what makes him special, I don't know anything. So going into this show, whatever they put on the screen is basically what I'm going to know about Halo.
Yeah, no, me too. Like when I play with my son, we're not playing the story. We're just fucking shooting people and shit. Like I don't know anything about it. But I watched it. I mean, you're talking about a guy in a mask who's protecting a young child. I mean, it's the Mandalorian. Like I don't know how it's not.
What did I say? I said it was the Mandalorian meets something meets the Fifth Element. Like
yeah.
You said, okay, hear me out. We're gonna mix The Witcher with a Mandalorian, but I'll have an Iron Man suit, and we'll set it in the Fifth Element. Oh, and throw in some Minority Report too. So you're calling it formulaic. I think that's what we're trying to get across.
A little bit, yeah, because you've got the whole like, oh, we experimented on this kid and turned him into a super soldier, like The Witcher, right? Like The Witcher, you either become super powered or you die, right? Like that's the whole thing.
A little Universal Soldier, throw it in there too. No, but I'd be lying if I didn't enjoy it. I liked it fine. It was a fun show to watch. I'm curious how it continues. Like I'm not gonna not watch it. Like if the effects were bullshit, if it was, if that.
So
if that
okay, so you say that. What turned me off of the entire show is such a petty fucking thing. But in that first scene, when the bad alien dudes show up and start blowing shit up in that camp, did you notice what their vehicles were?
No.
They were 1990s Chevy Suburbans with the Chevy logo on the front. So you're telling me that 500 years in the future, the Chevy Suburban from 1990 has not only made it, but it's being utilized as a military weapon on another planet. So they're like, this car is so good, we have to take it over here. Like, watch it again. The fucking logo is right on the front. I was like,
I gotta see this now. I totally.
Dude, I was like, what? And I was done. I was like, I don't care how much money. Like, if you can't even cover up the logo, I'm out, dude. Like, at least make them Jeeps. At least those are like a universal military vehicle. But like, that was the thing. So I never played Halo, but I've seen footage of Halo. They had vehicles in Halo that were specific to that game. So why not recreate those if you're worried about your special effects budget? and it, oh dude, like I saw it and I was like, no, no. And then the story was just so like predictable in the beginning. It just, I don't know, the effects weren't that great for me. Like they looked like a modern day sci-fi channel TV show.
You know,
They look better. They look better than that, but they
Mm,
weren't. They weren't Disney Plus.
no, they were Expanse, you know, and I feel like
yeah, exactly.
yeah, and I feel like, you know, with the Expanse too, right? Like I'm glad I watched it. I was singing its praises, but now I feel like I know you. I think Kevin, I think you said you liked it, but like I
Yeah, but
feel
I didn't watch it till the end. I haven't watched the last part
okay.
of the last season. And I know that it ended in a different spot than the books, and it was sort of more of a convenient ending than it was in the
I
books.
feel like I wasted my time. I feel like the show had like some great seasons and had some promise, but the way it ended, I was kind of like, like, you know. And then they got rid of one character. I think you know why, because of the controversy, and I think that wasn't in the book. So, but it was a good run. But I feel like if I can give The Expanse a pass and then and watch that and get some joy out of it, I will. I am going to give Halo a pass and watch it. I will say for the record, though, I do think I've now fallen off of what's it called? The other show on HBO Max, Raised by Wolves. I'm done with that. I there's not enough time in the world to like watch every show that isn't like it's getting weird. So I'm out.
Yeah, and I'm like that with Halo. I'm like, if I remember to watch it, great, but I'm not going to be sitting there waiting for the next episode to drop. It's just, I don't know, all the world building that they haven't done very well. I'm not like, I don't care yet. Like, I don't understand why I care about this object, why it turns on when you touch him, when he touches it. Like who these these alien invaders are, that they have their own little white girl that they keep in a box that is like in charge of everything. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just like, I don't get it, and you're
And
not telling
and
me why I should care, so it's weird.
Fair.
Like at
and that
least
was
the
very
Mandalorian, you have like, you've been watching, if you're watching the Mandalorian, you've watched some Star Wars, like you get the backstory. And the writers of Halo specifically said that they felt so free because they were going to write their own story and not follow what was in the books. So they're not using anything that actually exists in the game, which is fine for me, because I don't have a clue. But at the same time, like there's no backstory really.
But did you
Although
watch the
go ahead.
girl? Did you watch the? I mean, when I was watching the girl with the
Yeah,
whatever
yeah.
she had there, the first thing I thought of was Dune.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like it.
yeah.
it, it
It just feels like it's so many things in one, but not any one thing. Like it's so weird.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
It's like, here are all the things that everybody likes.
Yeah.
Let's push them all together.
Yeah.
And then let's make a show, and then we'll make it episodic so that people want to go watch it once a week, and then we'll make a lot of money. That's what it feels like to me.
the one thing I can say is if you've watched the first two episodes,
I have.
the
That's the first
kids
one.
that they cast as the young Bokeem Woodbine and the young whatever Pablo Schreiber or whatever his name is, the young
Yeah.
versions of them look exactly like them. Like either they did an amazing job or they used some really interesting de-aging technology, because they don't look like the same people, but like the kid has the same nose as the Master Chief, and the kid that plays the young Bokeem Woodbine has like the same gap in his teeth, and uh,
Can we talk about how Pablo, whatever the fuck his
Mhm.
name is, said that he's been in talks with Marvel to play Wolverine?
I heard that.
I heard that too, and God, I fucking hope not.
I hope not. He's way too tall.
Right. And I think, for what it's worth, I think we're going to have to get
Giant
over that. I'm
lips.
not over that. Like, I'm not over that, but I think we're going to have to get over that. Like, I don't think they can choose the best actor that happens to be under 5'8". Like there's just not enough of them out there, and
Oh, there's
it would
so
be a
many
lot
actors that are 5'8". I totally disagree with you.
that are good enough to
100%.
play Wolverine.
Yes. How many
Name one that's
actors?
not Scott Conn.
Well, I will
Ratcliffe.
name. I won't name any. Yeah, Scott Eastwood. I won't.
But
I
he's
won't
not
name
under
anybody.
5'8". He's like 6'3".
No, Scott Eastwood's not 6'3", is he?
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
But my point is that the
5'11".
majority of
Okay.
actors in Hollywood are under 6 feet tall.
Which is
So-
I
fine.
call it Hollywood height. I am Hollywood height.
That's right.
Yeah,
I'll never
Like,
make it in Hollywood. Apparently, I'm a giant.
yeah. I'm 6'2". Like
Yeah.
I should never play Wolverine. I should never be considered for Wolverine. Like anybody over 6 feet should just be like, no, they can't be Wolverine. They just cut them off. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I'd rather have somebody who's never acted before in their life be Wolverine
But isn't
because of their height.
isn't Hugh Jackman pretty tall?
He is. I think he's 6'1".
Yeah.
Let me look. Let me confirm.
And he was the perfect Wolverine. I think.
Amazing.
I just think for what it's worth, and knowing that Wolverine is actually like 5'4".
6'3".
Yes, Hugh Jackman's huge. So in that regard, he would be a terrible Wolverine, except he was a fucking great Wolverine.
Yes.
So
He's 6'3", but he's
Yeah, dude.
probably 6 feet. Let me put it this way: if I was an actor, I'm 6'2". In my IMDb, I'd say I was 6'5". Like tell me how tall Tom Cruise is.
That's different.
Tom Cruise is
no,
like 5'5".
Clearly, no, he clearly inflates his shit. But I think
Yeah.
he's like 5'7".
No, he's not. He's
a wee
barely
little
taller
man.
than my
Yeah.
dick.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
5'7".
No, he's barely.
Arlie
I
Jay's
bet you he's
5'8".
5'5".
Robert Downey Jr. is 5'8".
That's about right.
But see,
So
he
how-
didn't have to be tall. Like
No.
he was fine. He had the suit, and that was great. So him being a little small actually works perfectly for the character.
How about the Top Gun? The newest Top Gun.
I need to see it, but I don't know, man. It seems like nostalgia for nostalgia's sake. I don't know that I care.
Oh.
I watched
Listen,
Top Gun recently
it-
with my son, the first one, and it was fun, but
the
I don't
first
know.
one. There's only one. It
Yeah.
looks dope.
except
It looks really good. Like
unless it's all
Phenomenally good.
dogfights, I don't know that I care. Like I don't know what story I want to see that makes me give a shit.
So you didn't see the latest preview?
No, I haven't seen the latest one. I saw the first one, and I was like,
All right.
cool, Maverick's 75, and he's going to do the exact same thing he did before.
He
He doesn't belong in a cockpit at that age. Like if he hit 6 Gs, he'd pass out. Like, and then
Do
the
you
plane
want a
would crash, and there
spoiler?
goes $1 billion. I don't care. Yeah, spoil. I don't give a shit.
All right. So the spoiler is one of the people he's training is Goose's son.
Yeah, that's
Makes sense.
not much of a
Mocking shit.
spoiler. Yeah, I mean that seems like what they would have to do to make the movie interesting.
Relevant, exactly.
Yeah,
And it's what's his name? It's from Fantastic Four, Mr. Fantastic. What's his
Miles
name?
Teller?
Yeah, Miles Teller is his son.
That makes sense.
so does what's her face Goose's wife
No.
show up and just totally fucking bitch him out? Because that's exactly what
No.
would happen. She would tell him to get the fuck away from her kid. She'd be like, no thanks, don't fucking teach him a dogfight, it killed my husband.
Yeah, in the preview, that's not what she was not in the preview. So
Hmm.
that I don't think it's true, but it looks delicious. Like I cannot wait to see it. I'm super excited to go watch that in the theater.
Honestly, if you tell me that the movie is 75% in the air in the plane, I'm far more in than if you're giving me 75% story. Like the story just
I would bet that it's 50% plane and 50% story.
Yeah, maybe. Well, I won't see it in the theater. I can tell you that much. Just because I don't know. Even
What
if I was out
gets you-
there, I don't think
What
I
gets you
have to be
theater?
able to take. I have to be able to take my kids. They have to be interested in it, and my kids will not give a shit about Top Gun. There is nothing in Top Gun that makes it like a family movie. Like, what about Top Gun has like a 9-year-old kid being like, "Oh God, I can't wait to watch Grandpa Tom Cruise fucking teach a kid how to,
Fighter planes?
dude." That's how I got
Live
my
action G.I. Joe.
yeah. Like that's how I got
Holy
my
shit, it's feet.
yeah. That's how I got my oldest to watch Top Gun, is because the planes were cool, but then he kind of just wasn't into it after that. Like it was only moderately interesting.
It's
There
Peter!
he is.
What's up,
Bitch,
man?
look at that.
He's still
So
trying to figure out
sexy.
technology.
I guess this is a moment. Like the entire group has reunited. Like this is
Yeah, we're all back.
everyone listening and watching. You are in for a treat. The whole gang is here. This is history. We haven't done
And
this
Pete's
Pete,
a
let's
little
hear
high,
it.
so
month.
Cold
There
medicine
it
is
is.
fun.
There
Cold
you go,
medicine is
buddy.
fun.
Oh, Pete.
So
I have so much to say. So much
real
to
quick,
say.
since you got in, Pete, did you watch Halo?
No, I wound up not watching it.
Oh, good,
I
perfect. Because
don't.
we already talked about it. So
Okay. Have we? So I don't need to bust in with.
No,
Welcome.
yeah.
All right. Sweet. You're there. Woo.
Yeah, we're
Yay.
official at this point.
Okay. So what have you guys talked about? What did I miss?
Well, we talked about your wife, and then you a little bit,
Mhm.
and your giant nuts. That's about it.
And then that's all. No, we talked about Halo. I don't. What were we talking about that led us into Top Gun?
Basically, I think it was like what
we
everyone's
still-
watching. I think.
Yeah,
that's what we
Andy,
started with.
Andy was going. So Andy's the first one regaling us with the tales of the things that he's watched, and he did see the Top Gun trailer and said it looks amazing. I don't know that
I saw it too, and I will concur.
Oh, so Kevin is a detractor.
But I haven't seen the new trailer. I will say that. I just don't know what it would take to make me want to see that movie.
Honestly, I kind of want to see it in the theater. Like I think that's one that I'm actually gonna go. Nope, I'm gonna see that one in the theater. It looks like it'll be cool on your TV at home, but just the way the photography of the jets, at least with what we're seeing, the way it looks, it's a spectacle, and it'll be worth it to see it in a theater. I feel like it'll be to get the real like Top Gun feeling.
Grandiose feeling.
Yeah, like it's
Yeah.
it'll play better in the theater.
Yeah.
I think.
If they don't play the fucking
Danger Zone.
Thank you, dude. If they don't play that, just kill yourselves. Like, I mean, that's being mean, but like, just what's wrong with you? Come on, you gotta play that Kenny Loggins, man. Like, you gotta play Kenny Loggins.
No, it'll be that, but it'll be like the Trap remix by Lil Yachty, and then
the Doja Cat.
Exactly. But no, Danger Zone I could do without. Like I love that. It's iconic. No, it's iconic. But the one that I need, if it's
How do
gonna
I
be there
kick
for
this
me,
guy out of this chat?
the
fuck?
the one that I need is the Top Gun suite, the Top Gun theme. Like,
Yep.
that to me, like, don't get me wrong, I love Danger Zone.
Yeah,
I think it's dope.
Yeah.
But that's one of those songs that you hear.
that's
like,
what it'll start with. I think. Actually, I think it's just gonna be literally the movie's just gonna like. Yeah.
Maybe it'll just open with Archer watching Top Gun and singing Danger Zone, and then we can jump into the movie.
that would
That's
be
what
funny.
keeps Danger Zone going for me. So
You know what?
before Pete ruins it for you, Andy, what else were you watching?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Pete's gonna ruin it anyway. So,
I know.
so Picard, Halo, some Bruce Willis paraphernalia, like what I say, Armageddon.
Mhm.
Shit. So many other things that I don't remember, so it doesn't matter. So I will pass on to the next person, because I mean, I literally watch like 12 hours of video a week that I can't recollect.
I thought you were going to say a day.
Mhm.
No.
If you're saying 12 hours a week, you need to bump up those numbers. That's some amateur shit.
Rookie
Well,
Those are rookie
just
numbers.
I know, right?
on the treadmill. On the treadmill.
That's some double A ball right there.
Yeah, I know. It's more than that, but on the treadmill is where I'm watching my my stuff. But yeah, I'll leave it to the rest of you to. I will open it up to Andrew.
Yeah. We'll move on.
What have you been watching?
So what I've been watching very quickly is I've got some friends. I have cool friends, first of all. Just know that I have cool friends between Andrew, Kevin, Pete, then also from friends from across the pond. So one friend he's a filmmaker actually out in London, and he was talking about this whole like Will Smith Jada thing. And he says here, he wrote this in a group chat that I'm part of. He goes, there's a gossipy narrative I see published about a manipulative narcissist Stockholm syndrome thing with Will and Jada, and Jada getting a nice guy into agonizing situations. And he basically goes, I find it interesting that they're basically describing to some extent the character Jada played perfectly and skillfully in Woo, or at least what I remembered from it. And Woo is like a 90s film that was like from 1998. What's notable about Woo is like she was the star. You also had Tommy Davidson from In Living Color. He was like, if you remember him. Then you've also got LL Cool J in a pretty hilarious like kind of cameo. And then a couple, and Dave Chappelle makes a very early appearance in this film as well. Let me just like
I'm sorry, my child was talking to me. This was Woo?
Woo, yes, with Jada Pinkett. Okay.
I feel like I've seen this.
So it was part of that whole, like, I would call almost like a late 90s blaxploitation era, like where you had like Booty Call with like Bill Bellamy and everything. Anyway, the movie is terrible. Like it's 10% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's bad. Okay. But I watched the film and, it was just a trip to see like what New York was like in the 90s, what was considered funny and kind of urban culture. And yeah, you do see, and Jada, by the way, is like, gorgeous. Like the whole kind of conceit in the film or what it's about is she's just this beautiful woman who kind of gets everybody to kind of do what she wants because she's so hot. She is kind of nutty, and Tommy Davidson is this nice guy, and they go on this date, and it's just misadventures of stuff that she gets him involved in, and he gets like all these little things. But by the end of the film, it's a romantic comedy. She realizes he's a nice guy, and just because I think he's lame, he's actually real, and we should be together, basically. But it's bad. But I did watch the film. I would say for anyone who's like curious to get to maybe some insight into like maybe Jada's movie career, or at least how beautiful she was, or maybe just how hypnotic she might be able to be with men, I would recommend it. But that's about it. This is not Oscar quality stuff. But I did watch that. I also will say that I recently watched, I'm sure most of us have seen it. I recently watched Moon Knight on Disney Plus. And I got
Didn't watch it yet.
Okay.
What?
We're not,
No,
I don't want to spoil
it's
anything.
tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
I'm
not going to spoil anything. I'm just going to say, first of all, Kevin Feige, from what I understand, he's more hands-on in this show than any other show. So that's number one. Number two, it feels cinematic. Like it feels like a higher, like the fucking I keep cursing, but the bar has been raised. I mean, Oscar Isaac is a great guy. I'm so glad. He's such a good actor. He was amazing in Ex Machina. So when I heard him cast as when it cast as Apocalypse, I was excited. Then I saw the X-Men Apocalypse film and was like, what the hell is this stuff? But then and then Dameron,
do you remember that? Do you remember that first costume, the original shots they showed you of his Apocalypse costume?
Yes.
And it straight up looked like a Power Rangers villain.
It was so bad. So bad. They improved it, and it was purple and didn't have any, it was bad. Okay. It was bad. It was like Khan dressed up as a Power Rangers villain. Okay. Anyway, we're finally getting Oscar Isaac in a comic book film that's actually worthy of his chops, because he's playing a multiple personality character. I don't think that's a spoiler. But I watched the show, I'm into it, and then the last scene, and then the credits, I'm like, I'm in, dude. Like Kevin's like nodding. Like I'm in. Like there is no effing way I am not watching this show. That's all I gotta say about that. So
dude, so I would say the character that we are introduced to that he's playing is already just like some great work by Oscar Isaac. Like knowing his repertoire so far before this movie, it feels like just that character is something I haven't seen him play before.
Correct. Departure, but believable.
Yeah, like even my wife was like, she's like, oh shit, that's not Poe. Like that's her takeaway, because she's not familiar with Ex Machina. She hasn't seen a bunch of stuff that he's in. So Poe Dameron's kind of like her baseline for, and the character is miles different from that. He even looks different. Like he's a little hunched, he's a little dorky, and he's fantastic. I think there's a long way to go, but
who does he remind you of? His voice. I'm trying to figure
his British
out,
voice.
Like,
His
No,
British
no,
voice is
well,
like so different.
Mhm.
but his hey, hi, ooh, his Mark Spector personality. What is that?
Well, it's a
Like
Stephen,
it.
I think, actually, right?
Yeah, yes, yeah, it's Steven. Mark Spector is the one you see
Oh,
later
you're
on.
right. Pardon me.
Well, but yeah, I
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
spoil too much, but yeah, but I want to jump in really quick. A random observation as well. Seeing Ethan Hawke in that role reminds me of seeing Kevin Bacon as the bad guy in X-Men First Class. Like these are former kind of team
Totally.
heartthrobbie guys,
Yeah.
and now they're like wizened, grayed out like fucking villains. And
It's
like,
so funny you said that because my wife called him Kevin Bacon when he first showed up, and I was like, no, I get it though. It's either Kevin Bacon, Ethan Hawke, or Matthew Modine. It's one of the three. You just pick one, and it could be any one of them.
he's sold me. Like Ethan Hawke is like
He's
creepy.
solid creepy, and he's a character that's completely made up for the show. They didn't use. So I read this today. They didn't use there's a main baddie that Moon Knight usually faces off against, and they felt like he was too similar to somebody else in the MCU, and I don't remember who it was off of my head, but the character was too close, and they didn't want to just rehash something that felt like it was already there.
That it is possible that Ethan Hawke is that, and that's what we're getting led into, which would make sense. You might as well do the Fantastic Four. You've owned that and had the time to be working on that longer than you have the X-Men.
They have announced that they're working on it. Like Fantastic Four is in this
Yeah.
phase of films, and the X-Men is not. So it's possible, but I do think his character is specifically this character. I'd be really curious to see if they decide to introduce Victor Von Doom, if they would ever show his face, because that didn't play really well in the Fantastic Four movies.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
Not that they wouldn't,
I can see
and
that.
I trust that if Kevin Feige decides that maybe they should do that, then they're probably, they're probably going to do it right. I don't doubt that. I just wonder if they would bother.
They might, because I mean that's because if you can lay the groundwork with an origin story through this and maybe something else for Doom, then you don't have to do it in the movie. And even though everybody's already seen his face, he's still Doom when he comes in there to the Fantastic Four. That was the thing with the last one. I think that was just so fatal was it was basically the Doctor Doom origin story. Is what the first Fantastic Four was, or the last one. And I think we talked about this once before, that I didn't completely hate that movie. It was by no means good, but
The one with Miles Teller and
yeah.
Oh no, that movie was garbage.
I didn't hate it.
I liked it. I think it was fine.
Terrible.
I'm with you, Pete. I enjoyed it.
Oh no, you liked it a lot more than I did. I'm just saying, like it's I don't think it's garbage like Kevin does, but I know you like to fondle that movie a little bit. Yeah, Ethan Hawke's been interesting as of late. His career, he's still doing like those weird little Julie Delpy inspired, like Before Sunset, After France, like indie kind of things that he does. But he also did anybody else get the vibe that he was trying to do his best version of Doc Holliday in The Magnificent Seven? Like
Yes,
like that was the kind of vibe he gave off.
totally, 100%.
No, do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Good.
No,
Lord,
yeah,
I
I
just
know.
saw it.
Did you see that he also was in another Western recently? It was a series on the John Brown. I'll find that out later. Anyway, continue on. Cold
I think that's
medicine.
basically all I got. So I just wanted to talk about. And I did see Halo. Obviously, we talked about that already. Am I on mute still? No, I'm not. Okay. We talked about Halo. We talked about Moon Knight, and we talked about Woo. So yeah, no, I will pass the microphone to the next individual to talk about what they've seen.
Well, Pete, I've got lots of stuff. So if you want to go, I don't know what you got, but
So actually, I am going to forego talking about anything save one thing, because I got a stack of stuff too, and we have other things we want to talk
You're gonna
about.
save it for
tonight.
next week when we have important things to talk about.
Exactly. So I will say we did, and we just watched it this evening from bed. It's a movie called Grizzlies on Netflix.
That's familiar.
It's it's actually really good. It's about lacrosse, and it's a Canadian film, and it takes place way up north in an Inuit kind of village, basically. And it's your kind of basic sports story based on a real story. They show you pictures of the real life people at the end. Like, it's kind of cool. It's great. It has lacrosse as a backdrop, so it kind of was cool for my family to watch that because there are like no other lacrosse movies out there. But it kind of at times almost borders on the kind of white savior kind of thing, but doesn't, because it's really from the perspective of the kids. I did not realize that the Canadians had the same kind of problems with endemic people that the United States did. Like, for some reason, I just assumed because Canadians are so polite that like Native Americans like just integrated into Canadian society as it spread through. Like, they weren't horrible things, and there are things like the residential schools like that. That's a big plot there. I had no idea that this was such a thing.
Did you
That
not
like
watch
Inuits.
Letterkenny? They have to go to the reservation in Letterkenny all the time.
Yeah, but Letterkenny, it's Letterkenny. That's that's different. To be fair, yeah, it's a good movie. It's an interesting movie. Lacrosse as a backdrop. It's depressing as all shit because it's a lot of it's about like teen suicide in the beginning because these kids are like killing themselves. It's kind of an epidemic up there.
So you
And
watched
they're
this
all
with your kids in bed while you were sick? This was your
yeah.
uplifting moment with your kids? You're like,
Well,
you guys
no.
feel like shit? Watch this. Everybody have some Kool-Aid while we watch this movie.
Well, no, it's what they
What the-
overcome, and it's what lacrosse brings to these kids' life, and they wind up going and playing in the 19U tournament in Toronto, and blah blah blah. And you kind of know what's going to happen. It's cool because it is based on a real story, so you don't get some weird fantasy thing like these kids who have never actually stepped foot on grass like this in their life come out there and win the whole like 19 under tournament having never played anyone. Like, spoilers, it's like a big deal that they score a single point at all. Like, that's even just a big thing, and they do that. And so it's it actually turns into a very fun, uplifting, joyous movie.
Well, you had nowhere to go but up.
Exactly. Yeah, basically. But it was really, really cool, and it opened my eyes to stuff that I didn't know existed, and now I want to like do my internet research and find out more. I'm sorry, I'm not going to do the whole woke 2 weeks in a row thing. Dude.
Yeah.
Andrew suffered enough through that, bro. I'm that's not even what I'm trying to do with this, because it's also just a really fun movie, especially if you know nothing about lacrosse. Honestly, it's kind of a cool little way to get introduced to lacrosse, and it's believable. The kids are fun. It of course has Boo Boo Stewart from Twilight, one of the Quillette Indians.
None of
there.
those words mean anything to me.
You'd recognize him if I showed you a picture. Anyway. Yeah, I'm gonna save the rest for next week, mostly because I also don't want to have to go back and look at a list and things that I do. And you just said you had a lot, so Kevin,
I do. I'll start with a couple of things that we've at least talked about or touched on. I finished The Tourist. I really
so
thought,
good.
dude, yeah, I kind of in the beginning and definitely towards the middle, I wasn't sure. Like, I wasn't sure what it was going to do, but there's like from the moment that he has his acid trip sequence till the end, I thought it was fantastic. The Tourist, it ended really strong. I'm really curious. I believe that it's already planned for a second season. So I think it's actually like greenlit for a second season already. So I'm really curious to see what they do with that. But it was, the first season was good. And if it didn't get a second season, I'd be fine with that. But I thought it ended really strong. And then we didn't talk about it last week when we started to talk about the Oscars, because I can't remember if I watched it right before or right after, but I did finally watch Nightmare Alley. I've been meaning to watch that forever because I'm a huge Guillermo del Toro fan. I didn't love it. I thought it was a little boring. I thought it was very pretty. because Guillermo del Toro's visuals are fantastic. Like, if you've seen Pan's Labyrinth, you know what the guy can do. But I found it to be really boring. I think I actually did talk about it last week. Now I think about it. But it was like a noir film that somebody had as their passion project for 10 years, which he did. He's been trying to make the movie forever, and it's a remake of an older film, and it wasn't very interesting. Like, I didn't really get into the plot at all. I liked the actors. I liked the work they did. I thought everybody was great. It was only okay. After watching it, I didn't really see any reason that it would be nominated for Best Picture other than it was really pretty. But that's my take on Nightmare Alley. I know, Andrew, you watched it and you loved it.
I did.
You actually said it would be your pick for Best
Yes.
Picture.
I thought it was beautifully shot. I enjoyed the characters. It was I didn't know who was the antagonist and who was the protagonist until it was delivered. Like,
I didn't even know at the end. Like, it was so it was so back and forth, and I don't know. It just never really settled into anything. That was my problem with it. It didn't have a lane.
You're not wrong, for sure. It did leave. Listen, when Bradley Cooper at the end was crying because he got a job for the thing that he didn't want to have, basically, for people who haven't seen it, it was the caged animal. Basically, it was curious. It was interesting. Like,
I just didn't feel like he would have. I don't know. Like, he was all of a sudden so broken at the end, and I didn't really see what got him that far down the road. Yeah, he was on the run at the end. Yeah, she messed him over, but like, that was a long fall for the last 20 minutes of the movie, 15 minutes of the movie. And I just didn't see a reason for it.
Do either of you feel like, I'm sorry to interject here, but I read in a couple of things that obviously haven't seen it yet, but that Bradley Cooper kind of overreached his acting ability with this one, that he is a good actor. Let's not say he's not, but that this character was a little wrong for him, that he's not playing this character the way
I didn't get that feel at all. I thought he played the character just fine. I just didn't care for the character very much. He was a little shady and backstabbing, but like, then he was trying to get the girl, and then he got the girl, and then he sucked, and then like, it's just he wasn't a character that had a compass at all. Like, he was all over the map. But that was the character. I don't think it was Bradley Cooper at all. I actually, when it comes to the direction of the film itself, I thought Guillermo del Toro obviously did a great job. I think everybody was excellent in their parts, and the acting was fantastic across the board. I thought Ron Perlman didn't even need to be there. Like, he was underused. Like, so many
totally
of
agree.
Like, not because he was bad, but because he was just underused. Like, he showed up to have Ron Perlman in the film, and then they were done with him. There was a few characters, like most of the Carney characters felt like that. You had who was Toni Collette. Like, that could have been anybody could have played that part, because she was in there for so little time. Like, it was an ensemble film for the sake of having a huge ensemble that you then didn't use. Like, I would rather have seen a more developed and more interesting story with fewer names. Because when I see Toni Collette on the screen, I expect time with Toni Collette. she's usually a scene chewer, you know, and she has a couple of good scenes, but she's just not in it for very long, so it didn't make a lot of sense to me.
Was she in Knives Out, Tony Collette?
I think so.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the only thing I've seen her in, but I do remember liking her there.
And so I mean, that's what I've watched, and in that regard, the other thing that I finished was Miss Maisel. I thought that had a really great full run. I can't wait to watch the final season of that. That we talked about, Pete, the scene, the funeral scene with Susie,
Yes.
and I still think that was probably the best scene that I've seen in the entire series.
Yeah, possibly.
But
Yeah.
but the scene in the season finale on the stage between her and why am I fucking Lenny Bruce, was fucking brilliant too. Like
Yeah.
that, just his
That's what I was saying, dude. It just
this whole insight into Lenny Bruce. Again, we talked about the difference between Lenny Bruce the man and Lenny Bruce the comic.
Yeah.
And the Lenny Bruce the man moment there was so fucking good. And I was really blown away by it. I really felt it. Like he did a fantastic job in that moment.
Yeah, I feel like there should be at least a couple of Emmy nominations coming for that dude's performance. Like
there's got to be, right? Like he's so good. He's always been so good, but this is like, I think the only knock against him is he doesn't get enough time on the show. But man, that was a moment. Like that was a big deal.
I'd almost want a Lenny Bruce spinoff, but I don't know if
I don't know if it'd be too much.
You know what I'm talking about.
You know?
I think it would, and I the problem is I'd want Lenny Bruce from Miss Maisel as the spinoff.
Right.
I wouldn't want, like, I've heard again, because I haven't seen either of them yet, but I've heard like Better Call Saul is amazing, but it's totally like a different vibe and setup than Breaking Bad is.
100%. Yeah.
Like, you know, I would want Lenny Bruce from Miss Maisel, just what he was doing every time he wasn't with Midge.
Yeah.
You know, like that side of it, but written by her. I'm forgetting the director's name.
Amy Sherman Palladino.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting. Go ahead.
I think that's what we brought up, or I think I brought this up last time. We have started watching, because of that, we started watching Gilmore Girls.
Oh, good. Yeah, I need to start that. But
we're about 4 episodes in, and I'll tell you what, you can totally see it already.
Oh, 100%. Like that woman, Amy Sherman Palladino, has a voice.
Yeah,
for sure.
And she finds actresses specifically, and some of the actors as well, but the actresses, like, you know, that female voice that she has, she finds actresses that put it together perfectly.
Oh, Lauren Graham crushes, dude. She's so good. I know. I saw that Alexis Bledel, the daughter, she struggled so much when that show started. She said it was one of the hardest things she's ever done, because if you as someone who's dabbled a little bit into just writing a script and a little bit of screenwriting and stuff, usually when you're writing a script, as a rule, it's about a page a minute. Yeah. So if you're writing a 90-minute film, you write a 90-page script, give or take. Yeah. And they said that Amy Sherman Palladino scripts are almost double, because there's so many words and so much wordplay, and it goes so fast and it's so back and forth that it's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
Like if she was trying to break in with that script and handing it off to people, they'd be like, no, there's no fucking way. Like nobody's going to do this. And so I don't know where she cut her teeth. But Gilmore Girls is 100% the lead into Miss Maisel, just in writing. So yeah, I'm glad you started watching it. I've seen bits and pieces of it, but I haven't watched it from the beginning. But yeah, there's some fantastic stuff in there. So, and then I started Picard. Andy talked about that, but I'm a little behind on it. the two things that are really new that I'm starting. Well, I'm caught up on Severance on Apple TV Plus. It's a new Adam Scott show, primarily directed by Ben Stiller, and it is in no way at all a comedy. I think if you watched Devs, Andrew, I know you did. You watched Devs. It has not the same feel, but sort of a spiritual, like kinship kind of vibe to it. Like it's that weird kind of current tech weirdness. So like the gist of the show is that people have volunteered to work for this company and do work that is supposedly top secret, or that they're not supposed to share with the outside world. So to go do this job, you have to go through a process called severance, which means your work self and your outside work self are completely separated from each other. So when you walk in the door at work, there's a little chip in your brain that flips over. You go to work, and you have a whole life at work. You have your coworkers and whatever. As far as they experience, at the end of the day, they walk into the elevator and then they walk out of the elevator, and it's the same thing. So they're always working.
Is it futuristic or near future type thing?
It's nowish. Like nothing about it feels futuristic.
Wow.
Yeah, I watched the preview for this. This is
It's weird for sure. It definitely has a visual vibe to it. Like there's definitely some artistic choices made in the setup. Like the office that Adam Scott works in has like a green, almost AstroTurf looking floor. There's only 4 desks. All the walls are white. If you leave that room and go down the halls are all white. But there's definitely like a feeling of it also being like some kind of psychological experiment. Patricia Arquette's in it. She's fantastic. John Turturro is fantastic. The girl in it, I've not heard of her before, but she's really great. Adam Scott, obviously. It's really cool. Like it's different. It's weird. The second to last episode, or I guess the current last episode right now, the final episode doesn't air till Friday. The second last episode, some weird shit happens out of left field. I was kind of like, what the fuck? And then it kind of leans back into where it's supposed to be. But it's really, really interesting. I don't want to give too much away. But Adam Scott's character lost his wife, which is why, he was mourning. So he thought maybe this would work for him to separate himself, right? To go through the severance process and separate his life from his work and do that. And then there's this new girl that starts working with them, and she immediately hates the process. Like inside the work world, she hates that she has no idea what's going on outside the world. She hates that this is the only thing she'll ever know, because they're technically now 2 different people, right? If you go to work and you never leave, and the only thing you know is work and the people around you, you're effectively trapped, right? Like, and they're still like them, but they don't have any of their memories. They don't know who they are on the outside. They don't know if they were ever married. They don't know if they have kids. Nothing. And so it's a trip. Like it's a really cool show. So I definitely recommend it. And then the last thing that is newish that I started, I'm not too deep into it, but Pete, you and I kind of talked about it for a second, is Life and Beth with Amy Schumer. I'm not the world's biggest Amy Schumer fan. I don't hate her by any stretch, but I haven't always just like gravitated towards her comedy. This is not ridiculously silly, so it's a little easier to take in. And it's interesting so far. It was really funny because the first episode starts and the woman that plays her mom, I was like, it looked like an actress that I'm familiar with, and I couldn't remember her name. But she's gorgeous, and she looked weird, and like she looked like maybe she'd had some bad work done or something like that. It looked really bizarre, and I was really tripping. And I looked her up, and she's like 2 years older than Amy Schumer, but she's playing her mom. And I was like, what the fuck? And I really started looking, and I was like, wait, it has to be it has to be old age makeup. And then it finally registered that they would do flashbacks so that she could play her mom, without old age makeup, because she was only going to play her mom in the current timeline for a little while. But it was weird because I was just like, what happened to this woman? Because I remember seeing her like 2 years ago, and she's beautiful, and it was just weird. And once I figured that out, I felt a whole lot better about the show. I was just confused.
Violet Young.
No, Linda, no,
Laura
Linda.
Benanti.
Yeah, there you go, Laura Benanti.
Jane.
Yeah, she plays Amy Schumer's mom, and
oh shit! Yeah.
yeah, she's been in tons of stuff. She's great, and I think she was on Supergirl. I think she played Supergirl's mom or something like that on the CW. But yeah, that show, I'm only like 2 or 3 episodes in, but it's a solid like dramedy. Like it's not bad. It's a half hour. Again, it's not over the top. I think in the 3rd episode, it actually picks up the humor a little bit compared to the first 2 episodes. It starts off a little dark comedy in the beginning, but it's good. I like it so far.
Cool. I'm looking forward to. I go back and forth with Amy Schumer. A lot of her earlier stuff I really dug. And granted, this, I mean, one of my next complaint, or my only complaint about her is I liked her, and then she did this show kind of pandemic time where she was cooking at home with her husband, who's a professional chef.
Oh yeah, I tried to
Yeah.
watch that. It was only okay.
Yeah, like it's too much when it relies just on her personality. And I feel like in watching the trailer again, it's one I haven't started yet, but I feel like just from the trailer, you can see obviously Amy Schumer's, other than she's in it, but I'm saying like her handprints are all over it. Like she's got some writing in it and stuff just by the kind of the vibe that it gives off. But I'm really interested in seeing it. I'm glad that you kind of liked it. That fills me with some good hope, because you know what, she and Wanda Sykes and Regina were so good at the
Yeah.
Oscars.
Yeah.
Like I think that worked very well. Wanda was hilarious.
I love Wanda Sykes. She's awesome.
As always, she kills me. Amy was funny. Surprisingly.
She really can be. I think when she leans into some of the more subtle humor that she's got, that's when she's the funniest. When she gets over the top, she's a lot for me. Everybody has their thing. It's funny though that you brought up her cooking show. I actually, when it comes to celebrity cooking shows, one of my favorite ones that I caught during the pandemic was Selena and Chef on HBO. Selena Gomez,
yes,
who is fucking adorable, dude. Like I've never really been like, never known anything about her. I didn't watch any of the Disney shows. My daughter was just a little too old for when Selena was really really kind of blowing up, and so I never really saw any of those. But fuck, dude, that girl, she's been through a lot. Number one, like in her life, she's been through some shit. But she's fucking adorable, and she had her friends on, she had her family on, and that show was a lot of fun. It was like the perfect like early pandemic show. But yeah, I don't know.
So I am going to share one more thing that I watched, just only because you brought up. What did you just bring up? You brought
Your
up somebody that
past childhood trauma.
No, God, what is the name of that movie? We just watched it. I'm trying to find. Oh, okay. You can get it on. I believe it's on. Oh yeah, it's on Netflix. It's called The Fundamentals of Caring. It's got Alex. Yeah. It's got Paul Rudd. You got Craig Roberts, who you know if you saw him.
Yeah, I know who he is. Yeah,
really funny. And Selena Gomez is in it. She figures prominently, almost as a love interest. It's basically the story of Paul Rudd, who his wife is trying to divorce him. His story unfolds, and it's very heartbreaking with this very comedic background. He is a writer. He hasn't really been working. He's getting divorced. Um, he's he's working for a job, so he's going through this caregiver program. So he's going to go and help handicapped or elderly people get around. So he needs this job, and he gets a job with Trevor, who's British, and his mom, they've just moved back here from England, or they just moved to the U.S. from England. We find out back here later on in the story, and this he's got a form of muscular dystrophy, and he's confined to a wheelchair. And there's lots of ass wiping jokes. There's a lot of dark, pranky humor in this. Like there's a couple of times that the kid. I don't want to give it away because there's a lot that's fun to it. I
feel like I saw some of this or tried to watch some of it.
It has a slow start, and when I say a slow start, I know a lot of times when people say a movie has a slow start, it means it's really boring in the beginning. It's not boring. It's just a slower, more reserved, pulled back part. And then once it starts going, it's a nice little slow simmer for a minute, and then it takes off and keeps going. And it's really, really funny. And a lot of good stuff happens. Selena Gomez is in it, and she's great. She's very believable. It's a fun story. It's got some twists where you feel like you know exactly where it's going to go, and it kind of flips its head a little. It kind of flips it on its head a little bit, and you're like, "Oh shit, I did not see that coming." But it's a really funny movie. I mean, I can't think of anything that Paul Rudd's done really that's a complete turd. He's kind of really good in absolutely everything that he does. So yeah, that's a definite recommend. But that's my little interjection.
It does sound really familiar. I just don't remember.
I'd be willing to bet you like it popped up on your Netflix thing and you watched the trailer for it.
Maybe
There's a funny part, like, because okay, so this is in the trailer, no spoilers. They wind up going on a road trip to see like the world, America's worst roadside attractions. And along the way, Trevor, who's confined to a wheelchair, they decide they're going to go meet his dad. And obviously that's not going to turn out well. But it's a solid movie. It's a real solid movie, and it's short. It's only like, I think, like 96 minutes or maybe an hour 40, like that. Like it's really, really digestible at once. And there's a little bit of language, but honestly, you could probably watch it with. Well, no, there's some interesting stuff you probably don't want to explain yet. Never mind.
So, actually, Pete, you guys were both talking about the Oscar hosts with Wanda Sykes and Amy Schumer, and I remember actually kind of liking Regina Hall, and I just wanted to kind of bring her up for a second because, like, I think my favorite skit actually was when she was talking about the COVID tests and how we have to bring you back to the back. That was very like racy, but I think it was done well, and I think it was funny how like the actors actually got up on stage and were playing along with what she was doing. And then I was like, why does she look so familiar? Like, why have I seen her before? So I'm looking online, and she has been, first of all, she's aged very well. Like, let me tell you how old school she is. Okay.
Yeah.
She is her first movie was The Best Man in 1999. Then Love and Basketball in 2000, then the Scary Movie series, 2000, 2001. So she has been around for a minute. So, and then I also read here, this is totally random.
And she's been around the Wayans brothers. And we all know that family sucks the life out of actors and actresses to maintain their otherworldly presence and continue to make films.
And drinks the blood of their babies. No, but like in 2010, when she was 40, after being exposed to that satanic brood that is the Wayans, joking, she unsuccessfully tried to be a Catholic nun. This is here after a bad breakup. Okay, but apparently, and she wants to be 14. She wanted to be 14. But wait, here's where it gets better. The Catholics said no. Do you want to know why?
Oh, please.
The cutoff is 39. Like what? Like, if you're gonna be a nun, dude, You probably could. I mean, after men. I mean, again, I'm there. I am not a woman.
Oh
I don't
my
want to get in trouble here.
God.
But after menopause, you probably don't care about sex anyway. So, like, why would you cut it off at 39? What is wrong with you guys? But anyway,
So,
I want to give a shout out to her. I think she's awesome.
actually, it's a little bit the opposite. After menopause,
Oh, they really get
pride
like
goes back
paired
up.
up.
And plus, she's probably. I mean, I don't know the women in her family, but if anything, she's possibly perimenopause. She's really not in that sweet spot where it's headed downstairs yet. If she's
People
40.
revving up. No, I don't think she tried when she was 40 in 2010. So
Oh.
she's actually 52 now,
Oh yeah, no, she is.
and she don't look 52.
No, I have. Oh, I have always dug her in everything she's been in. She's got a lot of comedic chops, and it's the same kind of stuff she showed at the Oscars that night.
Mhm.
She was always kind of, and I was never a huge fan of the Scary Movie series.
I like the first one.
I like that, but that's with all of them.
Yes.
I'm a fan of older Wayans stuff.
Mhm.
I like Sean and Marlon. I like everything that they do there. But the Scary Movies, like even I loved How to Drink Your Juice in the Hood. Well,
Dude, Don't Be a Menace is a classic.
Yeah.
And I gotta just throw a shout out to Anna Faris. I actually loved her in Scary Movie as a brunette. Sorry.
Yeah.
But you were funny in that movie. Anyway, keep going, Pete.
yeah, I like some of that. I don't know. I just think the Scary Movies just got a little too.
Dick.
Yeah, like I was like, okay, like it was good. It was good at one, but now like we've hit the point where we're just trying to crank out a movie. Like I get it. Yeah, it was like, okay.
How do you think she got selected with the other two though? Was that a weird mix to have her with Schumer and Sykes?
It was interesting that you'd have two stand-ups and an actress.
Yeah.
That was kind of an interesting mix. But the other two have also done some acting, but I don't know if Regina's ever done
Stand up.
any stand-up.
Right.
But she's always been funny in everything I've seen her in.
All right.
Pete, what have you watched, Pete?
He already went. He didn't watch shit.
I think we're in
I think we're at depending on what my Zoom decides to do. I think we're at the Bruce Willis portion of our show.
Yeah.
This guy back here.
Yeah.
Bruno. For those maybe not in the know, Mr. Bruce Willis is stepping away from acting because he sadly has aphasia, which is not alopecia. It's actually bad. He has a cognitive. It's a cognitive issue, aphasia. So like he's actually losing the ability to speak and communicate and read and write and things like that. I saw an article today from his wife saying that it's actually been really hard for her. I guess it's already advancing pretty quickly, and they're struggling a lot as a family. And I hadn't heard anything about it until it came out. And it sucks because you can make jokes about how she's 20 something years younger or whatever, but she even said, she's like, we knew, that if I'm 25 years younger, that yeah, he's gonna have medical problems at some point. Like there's gonna be a difference. Like we're gonna have to deal with him being older, but they didn't count on anything like this. Like this is completely different. At 65 isn't that old,
Yeah.
and for him to be breaking down the way that he is really unfortunate.
Well, that's one of the things I read too, and I never followed up too closely on it, but aphasia usually doesn't happen by itself. It's usually actually a symptom
Triggered
of
by
something like a stroke or something else.
Or the assumption is that from his action film days, maybe a concussion or something like that. It can be just a simple head injury that can trigger it. So there's a lot of reasons that it could happen. I don't know that we're going to find out what caused it in him. But it's really unfortunate. I've always been a Bruce Willis fan. I've liked him a lot as a dude. He seemed like a pretty decent guy.
No, I see. I always liked him as an actor. I heard, especially towards the end, or not at least the end, at least in the last 10, 15 years, he is like a massive dick.
Oh.
And Kevin Smith talks about it extensively.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Right.
Yeah, because he and I only remember that specifically because Kevin backpedaled on it and apologized
Mm-hmm.
for saying it in a tweet because Kevin is Kevin. But anyway, I was kind of like, stand by what you said. The guy was a dick back then, and he's not the only person to say that.
Yeah. I forgot about that. You're right.
He seems like a very charitable guy and everything else. His breadth of work. If you go onto IMDb and look, that man has not stopped making movies. Like I think this has been going on, and they've seen something coming for a little while. Because if you just look, like he has done at least 6 or 7 movies in the last 3 years. I had no idea were even
all direct to video.
Like that even existed.
Yeah,
at all. Just looking through a list.
I can read them.
Just like maybe he was trying to get that last bit of cash for his family.
He's still got 3 movies coming out.
Actually, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 that haven't come out yet.
Yeah.
So yeah, he just
Yeah. So, anyways,
yes,
what we decided we should talk about is what made his career so much fun. Like, what are our favorite movies or moments of old Bruce's career that each of us has. I don't know if you want to do, 3 or 5. I don't want to belabor it too much, and I think if we do too many, we'll probably just end up crossing over, stepping on each other's toes. But maybe just the top 3 moments each for
Well, I
Bruce.
feel like we have to divorce ourselves from Die Hard, because
right, it's always going to be, because
Like,
I mean, Die Hard is like the pivotal moment of Bruce Willis's career, right? And who was it that was originally cast for Die Hard?
That I
don't know.
aware of.
Oh yeah, no, there's a
it's crazy. Is it Sinatra?
No, it's who was it? It's on the Movies That Made Us. They talk about this.
Are you sure it's not Sinatra?
Hold on, it might have been
somebody
like that.
somebody from that era, because it was a sequel to a movie from a long time ago.
It looks like Fox had adapted it from a film starring Sinatra as a So I think it was Sinatra, and Sinatra had the rights to the character, and so if he didn't turn it down, that Die Hard would have actually been John McClane would have been played by Frank Sinatra.
It had to be offered to him because of it was a sequel and it was in the contract.
I mean, the upside there was that Sinatra was like, I don't know, 185.
He was 70 years old. Yeah.
But I think the movie wasn't quite the action
Check it
film.
Out. The role was offered to various major stars, including Sylvester Stallone, Richard Gere, Clint Eastwood, Harrison Ford, Burt Reynolds, Nick Nolte, Mel Gibson, Don Johnson, Richard Dean Anderson, fucking MacGyver, Paul Newman, James Caan, and Al Pacino. And then finally given to fucking
like he was the last of the last resorts.
Wow.
But and if you look at his body of work before that, he didn't make any sense to be cast in the part, although not that I would say Frank Sinatra would have
turned it down for Twins because he wanted to do comedy.
That worked out.
Which is what was funny because
check it out. And then Willis declined it because he was contractually obligated to moonlighting. But Sybil Shepherd, thank God you got pregnant. When she got pregnant, it gave him the time to do the fucking show. I mean, do the movie. Crazy. The things you learn from all pop, no culture, baby.
That's right. So we're here to educate. Obviously, this is an educational platform. Please allow your kids to watch.
Edutainment, entertainment, education, entertainment, edutainment. That's what we do for the children.
Oh yeah, it's for the kids, y'all. But Die Hard. There's about 1 billion ways it could have been a completely different movie.
Yes.
Because I can't see Frank Sinatra at 75 jumping off a building as it blows up, holding himself down by a fire hose. Um, but we're not here to talk about Frank. We're here to talk about the great Bruce Willis. Um, so, yeah, I
It's
don't
cool.
know.
I'm digging his IMDb. So his first film that he was in, uncredited, was 1980. It was the 1980 movie The First Deadly Sin. Never heard of it. Um, then it looks like he was in a German movie, Ein Guter Kommt. It was a TV movie,
That's Swedish.
uncredited. Then the verdict. So his first actual role where he got a credit was Miami Vice in
Correct.
1984.
Tony
Nice.
Amato.
Then he was on an episode of The Twilight Zone. Let's see. Then, okay, 87's Blind Date.
Yep.
And then he had some music stuff he was doing in there because he had like The Return of Bruno, the TV movie, and he was Bruno Radolini. Oh, good Lord. This was oh my God. This is where Bruno came from. It was a mockumentary. Ringo Starr's in this. John Bon Jovi's in this. I've never even heard of this fucking thing. Good Lord. Anyway, moving on. God damn it. Rolled all the way to the top. The man's had an amazing
He's
career.
done a lot of shit.
Like, it's funny. I like Bruce the action hero. Like, I think he's great. I think his chops and where he actually leans in are in dramatic and comedic roles. I think a lot of the kind of action star stuff that he's taken has been paycheck stuff. Like, I think he even knows the Die Hard movies just are fucking go down the tube. Like, he knows it. But
oh yeah, for sure.
He's producing it. He's getting a ridiculous payout on it. Like, honestly, one of my two favorite Bruce Willis movies are, one is a movie called Story of Us with Michelle Pfeiffer, which, if you haven't seen it, is a movie about marriage and a divorce and the two of them, and it's amazingly acted. It's ridiculously funny. Rob Reiner is in it. Like, there's a lot of fun little cameos and things like this throughout, but it's a deep, very interesting look at a marriage and at a relationship and how things just change over time, and it all works out in the end. But Bruce Willis is really, really good in it, and he works awesomely opposite Michelle Pfeiffer. Like, you buy it. And the other thing that I absolutely love him in, Jimmy the Tulip Tedeschi.
Totally.
Whole 9 yards. I'm sorry. He just absolutely perfect. And I know he's still playing a tough guy character. He's still incredibly funny in it, because it's actually one of my least favorite Matthew Perry things. And I absolutely love Matthew Perry, but I don't like Matthew Perry as much as I like Bruce Willis in this movie. And plus, this movie has Amanda Pete's boobs, so it's a bonus on that one. Those are actually my two favorite Bruce performances out of everything that he's done. And and Moonlighting. If you have a way to check it out, even if you never watched Moonlighting, if they have it somewhere, I even checked if you can stream Moonlighting somewhere. But I remember specifically watching as a young kid the episode of Moonlighting during the writer's strike, where him and Sybil Shepherd and a couple other people basically went on and did a bunch of goofy improv stuff. So it was obvious that it wasn't written, but they still put out a show. Like, I think they like lip sync to "Good Love" by, like the 60s song at one point, but it's just hilarious. And Bruce is over the top goofball ass funny. And
I think I've seen that, actually.
It's fucking hilarious. And here's the thing, you don't have to have watched any other bits of Moonlighting or even know what the show is about to enjoy that episode, because it's like the background, I think, is it's a blue screen.
I haven't thought of that since I was literally under 10. Holy crap.
Yeah, like it's one of those things. I remember realizing how funny it was back then when I first saw it.
Huh.
It's like when you see that Kids in the Hall sketch about when The one about the who's on first. Do you remember that one? That's
I-
another one.
Even though I'm Canadian, I know the Kids in the Hall is. I'm gonna.
Well, we're talking about Bruce Willis now. It has nothing to do with Kids in the Hall, so that's for another night.
Got it.
Yeah, move on. I like Bruce Willis, but I really enjoy Bruce Willis comedy more than I enjoy Bruce Willis as an action star, especially as it got later on, because I feel like he really was phoning it in with a lot of stuff. If you needed him to act hard, he was funny. Like, okay, I'll backpedal. I do like him as an action star when they realize that he's funny and they need to use that. Like Red, great movie. So much fun. And he was hilarious in it. You know, Red 2, kind of crap movie, but he was still really, really funny in it. Like when even as an action star, when Bruce is being funny, I think it's at his best. I mean, Hudson Hawk. That is possibly the best stupid movie ever made.
I think Andrew's a fan.
Yeah.
You know, that it's over the top, it's dumb. Sandra Bernhard is nuts.
She's always nuts.
Andy McDowell doing the dolphin noise is hilarious.
But
you know,
that was Moonlight-esque. You know, that was when he was still. I mean, that was at the same time he was in Moonlighting.
Yeah.
Like that was his character. He is a fun action star. It's similar to. I haven't seen the Brad Pitt one now. The Romancing the Stone-esque movie that's out in the theaters right now. But I mean, that's the same type of character that.
Wait, I thought you went and saw that with Allison.
Yeah, I thought you were going to see that.
No, we didn't see it.
But your text said you were literally walking into the theater.
Yeah, you're a fucking liar. This guy's fired.
We ended up doing other things.
Awkward hand job behind a Wendy's. I get it. Whatever. He
Wasn't
was
a
on
hand
Ally
job.
McBeal.
It wasn't a Wendy's.
Fifth Element. Oh,
Why don't you just list off all the movies so nobody else gets a turn, Pete?
12 Monkeys. He was
Jesus
in
Christ.
4 rooms at the end. I mean,
Yeah, I maybe we should pass the baton, pass the Dutchie.
Pulp Fiction.
Okay. Pulp
Last
Fiction.
Boy Scout.
All right.
I don't even have a list anymore. Pete just fucking
You
listed off all
bogarted
of
the
it.
whole thing.
I know.
I joke around about it, and I'm trying to be contrary to act like a dick. But honestly, I love Bruce Willis. Yeah, like the last few years of his career have really been kind of garbage. But I can't think of, especially the early on stuff, that anything he did that wasn't good. Fucking Bonfire of the Vanities, for Christ's sakes.
You guys remember a movie called Color of Night he did?
Yes, I do.
An erotic thriller with Jane March. Yeah. Apparently got a Golden Raspberry Award as the worst film of 1994.
Oh, okay. That was another kind of bitch move. Do you see the Razzies?
Yes. Rescinded that shit.
That's
I get it, though. No, dude. You're like, we can't make fun of a guy who has macular degeneration of the brain. I made that up.
No. I'm sorry.
Because he didn't have it then.
Well,
Even
even if he had the beginning of it, they're judging it on the performance of his film.
They don't want to see it as ableist. You know, it's like, dude, they're judging a guy who's disabled, basically. Right?
Look, I get what you're saying.
Wow, both you guys are like, you're ableist. Went from woke to ableist. I get it now. I see your true colors.
I go where the tide takes me, but listen, there was nothing wrong with Bruce at the time, and if it's, but I was of the understanding it was about movies that are recent, like not like his old shit.
I get why they did it. I totally do, even from a PR standpoint. I get it. I just think it's a bitch move. Like, because you're the Razzies, it's about bad.
You got to stand behind your brand.
That's your thing. It's about bad performance. Like that's the whole point of it, regardless of what it is. I just feel like it's just kind of silly. Like, you're the Razzies. You're already the nature of your existence is kind of mean in and of itself, if you really
Yeah.
think about it to that
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
Anyway,
The whole point of the Razzies is to be. It's literally like the award show version of Chris Rock telling an alopecia joke. Like it's not nice. Like it's up there. It's up there to roast people. And you don't fucking, you don't do a roast and then when somebody dies, be like, sorry, we roasted them. Our bad. Like, and that's what they're supposed to be for.
like if it was me and I was the Razzies, you know what I would have done instead of pulling that back? I would have given whatever
Like
is
a
causing
Lifetime
his
Achievement
aphasia.
Award?
No, I would have given aphasia a Razzie for 2022
You know what?
Totally.
for taking
Yeah.
I'm
Bruce
with that.
Willis's career from us.
I'm with that.
That's what I would have done. I think
Yeah.
saying, "Oh, you know what? We're sorry. We
Well,
shouldn't
you
have
know
given
what?
this.
I think
You might
that's
have been a
just
little
symptom.
goofy in the head."
It's a
And-
symptom. We become kind of um trying to avoid using a certain word. We've lost our fortitude as a society. And I do think that like it's important to be respectful and to not be overtly mean, but at the same time, there's limits.
Completely.
That's what this is about at the end of the day. Let's be real. And again, I am all about, again, I remember back in the 90s. See, I was woke before everybody else was woke. I'm sorry. I'm original woke. Okay. Like I'm Rhythm Nation era woke. Okay. So I remember when PCU came out in like, I want to say 96, and I was offended.
Such a good movie.
I was just kind of
Yeah.
like, you just want like an excuse to be a fucking like ismist dick. Like that's how I read.
Sorry,
people
which
who are
movie?
Anti PCU. Okay.
PCU.
Oh,
PCU. So
I love
was
that movie.
Like, so
Oh my God.
I know it's fine, but I'm just saying, like, I understand. Like,
Jeremy Piven.
Yes.
you're derailing my conversation.
Sorry.
No, it's fine.
Hey,
All I'm
you
saying
brought
is,
up you brought up PCU.
I
We're not
brought
gonna
PCU just to
protest.
say that, like, just so that
Chuck Porterhouse,
so that
ribeye.
people listening on this podcast, because I just came off as being anti PC, and I'm saying no, I'm not anti PC. I'm just saying, like, first of all, PC is such a 90s term anyway. What I'm saying is ultimately, as a society, we've lost some grit and toughness, and that's a bad thing, okay? But at the same time, I'm also not saying it should be a free-for-all and
No.
people can say whatever the fuck they want. So we got to
No.
find that balance. And this whole Razzies thing may be an example of shit being unbalanced. I do think, Pete, your idea of giving a Razzie to aphasia is actually way more in character than backpedaling and being off brand, to Kevin's point, to what you guys are all about. That's all I'm saying. So, but as far as Jeremy Piven and everything else goes, just quintessential 90s movie. I did finally watch it, but remember, back when I was an RA at UC Santa Barbara, I was motherfucking woke. And I basically was like, if you have a problem with PC, then stay away from me because you clearly just want an excuse to call me the N-word. Like, that's the way I saw it. But I, chilled out from that point.
So Bruce Willis. I know Pete tried to make Bruce Willis all about him, but
Sorry, it's cold medicine does to me.
you brought up Hudson Hawk, and I know Andy has a Hudson Hawk boner, so maybe Andy can go next.
There we go.
I loved that movie. Like it's a fun movie. I mean, I can compare Hudson Hawk to like Armageddon, right? Like,
Yeah, I enjoy both movies, knowing that neither one is necessarily a good movie.
See,
Exactly.
I figured you would have hated Armageddon, Kevin.
Oh no! There's a lot to not like about. Like, I'm not a Liv Tyler fan. I am not a Ben Affleck fan, as has been well documented. But I do actually, I enjoy Armageddon for the garbage that it is, and it's a Michael Bay film. Like, there's a lot going on. Like, so many wrongs kind of make a right for Armageddon.
Oh my God, you must have been vomiting during the little animal cracker scene.
Oh, it's so fucking stupid. I'm like, here's your coochie crackers. Why don't you eat these?
I literally
what they've
fast
been in.
forwarded through that today when I was watching. I'm like, it can go south to the fast forward. But I literally laughed today. Like I put the iPad in my shower, like I drape it over the top so I can like shower watching something on the TV. and I'm watching the scene where Ben Affleck is shooting the Gatling gun out of the spaceship that he's crashed in, so he can get the armadillo out into the asteroid. And I literally doubled over and laughing. I'm like, this is hilarious. We're shooting a gun that doesn't move, and there's all these bullets. It's hilarious. Point being is that I don't know. I don't know. I can't think of a movie that he's been in that I didn't enjoy at some basis level.
Look who's talking
Like,
too.
no, I still enjoyed that. It's bullshit. It's a garbage movie, but did I enjoy it? I did.
Just remember,
Like,
this is the guy that likes Green Lantern, so
it's true.
And Morbius.
and Morbius.
Yes, I enjoyed Morbius as well. But like, I mean,
Who was that? Did you talk about that tonight? Did I miss that?
Yeah. Well, maybe in the
A little
pre-show we
bit.
talked about it.
Yeah, he
Okay.
talked about it in the pre-show, but
Yeah, a little bit, very little bit. But I don't know. And even his bullshit movies, the last like his Nick Cage movies in the last 5 years, I don't know that I've seen a Bruce Willis movie that I'm like, I wasted my time.
North.
Now, no, I again, like, not horrible. Like I'm if I'm cooking in the kitchen, like, and it's on, it's not enjoyable. Like, I can't tell you that I have seen a Bruce Willis movie that I'm like, this was a waste of my 90 minutes. I
The
can't.
Jackal.
I can't.
actually,
No, I like
did
that.
hate the Jackal. It was corny,
With Richard Gere and Sidney Poitier.
I can't do it. I can't do it. They're all fine.
G.I.
all-
Joe Retaliation.
I actually like that.
Okay.
So, fuck you
Sorry.
first.
Sorry.
I enjoyed Bruce Willis in that. The G.I. Joe movie we can save for next week, is one of the things I didn't talk about was Snake Eyes, because I have a whole lot to talk about Snake Eyes and the whole G.I. Joe thing. So we can talk about that next week. Bruce Willis was the only bright spot in that movie, though. I actually do kind of agree with you, Andy. I mean, other than the stuff in the last 4 years, because I have just been rolling through his IMDb a little more here. I mean, even especially if you've never seen it, you should take a look at Breakfast of Champions from 1999. It's based on a Tom Wolfe book. It's really, really good. It's funny because I brought up Pulp Fiction earlier in my little, like, slamming out of the list of all the movies there, and just kind of breezed over it. It reinvigorated John Travolta's career, and in some ways you almost thought that it did the same for Bruce Willis, but when you actually look at the movies he was in around and before Pulp Fiction, he really hadn't stopped working.
Correct.
And consistently on and with decent movies.
Correct.
It just felt like it for some reason. I feel like it might have just been Pulp Fiction in and of itself that made it feel like that. But, Death Becomes Her, again, when he's being funny and he's the offbeat different character and he's not fucking shooting people, I actually enjoy him even more. Except he does the other things so well, because Last Boy Scout is one of my favorite 90s movies.
Yeah,
One of the best movies.
Underrated.
Completely underrated.
Yeah.
It's actually a very solid, hard-boiled detective movie.
Great movie.
Now-
Great movie. Probably in my top 20 movies actually ever.
Was that one of? I want to say it was what's his name?
Keenan
The other.
Wayans.
No, I mean I'm
Yeah.
talking about the
Yeah.
director.
Oh,
The other guy, the brother of the director. Scott. Tony
Tony
Scott.
Scott.
Tony
Yeah,
Scott.
that's a Tony Scott, and it's a Shane Black screenplay. Yeah, it's again another one of those, like, it's on TV all the time. if you have broadcast television, you'll just randomly see it. You know,
It's a great movie. Great movie.
So what I want to say actually is I remember when I saw Pulp Fiction in the theater, and when I saw him show up, first of all, I had no idea he was even in it. I walked in knowing about Sam Jackson and of course John Travolta. But when he's in there, like I was almost like, this is a bonus, number one. Number two, like there's a lot of like kind of heavyweight performances in that movie. And so I felt like it's going to be tough to like stand up against a John Travolta and a Sam Jackson in this movie. And I feel like he did a great job of not trying to overshadow them, but at the same time, like playing his role to a hill, like to a T, like his scenes. And even like, I'm pretty fucking far from okay. Like a whole, Butch was just such a great side story and a huge, and again, he wasn't the main character, but he just totally lit up all of his scenes. So I just want to, and it was also a little left field. That's the other thing I liked about it. Bruce Willis has always been that dude. Like he's never been a side dude before. So for me, seeing him as not the main character in a movie almost elevated the movie. It's like your movie is so fucking G. You got like a G showing up in your movie, but he's not even the main character. He's like a major character, but he's not the main character. So it almost makes you look at Travolta and Sam as just like that. So anyway, I just felt like he was a great addition to the movie. He totally fit the aesthetic. I think it was our first time seeing him bald too. Yeah, man. I mean, I think it did something to make him legendary because again, a lot of his other movies were more like, kind of popcorny, just kind of blockbuster films, whereas Pulp Fiction is real cinematic art. So I feel like he was able to cement himself in a legacy of film by appearing in that movie. So I just wanted to just give him his praise for that.
It is well, and it's brilliant the way Tarantino first brings him on screen because you're coming off of 2.5 minutes of Christopher Walken talking about a watch he shoved up his ass, for a portion of the Vietnam War, and that it was his father's, and it's boom, ding, 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 and it's Bruce Willis coming awake, and he's all sweaty, and he's doing his thing, and I mean. Yes, the performance was great. That's a whole nother episode, just that movie by itself.
And then one other thing I want to say quickly is that, and we're not going to talk about Die Hard, but I remember not seeing Die Hard 3, thinking it was like not that like it did look good to me because it was New York and it just seemed like there's no Hans Gruber. Why am I seeing this? Right? Die Hard 2 was at least felt closer to Die Hard 1. But now after having like hindsight, what I'm saying now is I think Die Hard 2 is the one that felt a bit more formulaic, and Die Hard 3 is actually, I think, the better film. So I still think Die Hard 1's the best, then 3, and then maybe 2. Maybe. That's my ranking.
I can see that.
Yeah. So like, and then I haven't even seen 4 or 5 or whatever.
Because it was Hans Gruber's brother, wasn't it?
Yes.
In 3.
Yes. And you get to see John McClane in his element, so that to me was cool.
Who played him?
Jeremy Irons.
Jeremy Irons.
Yes.
That's right.
Fucking brilliantly. Yeah,
You're a Sue guy?
Only because I have a deep emotional attachment to that movie because my mom actually took me to see that in the theater.
Okay. Fair.
When it was out because she loved Die Hard.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to remember the exact date of that because I was young.
It was 90
to go and see a movie like that in the theater. I was 90. So I was 2, 3. So yeah, I was about 13, 14. So I was still in its sweet spot, but my mom was taking me to see a rated R movie and I got to see that on the big screen. And I remember that coming off the other one. So I think I have to agree with you. Actually, 3, I think, is the more solid film and a better movie. But just because of the emotional attachment, when I actually talk, if I have to talk about it, it's 1, 2, and 3 for me. Just because but 3 is a better movie.
The cigarette lighter, the lighter though, we already know. But the lighter, brilliant.
So
that's all.
So before Pete can list off any more of his fucking movie career, before somebody gets to say anything, I'm going to list my 3 real quick.
Billy Bathgate.
God damn it! I'm going to say The Fifth Element, 12 Monkeys, and The Sixth Sense. Not because they're necessarily my top 3, but because they're the 3 that you guys haven't talked about. I think The Fifth Element I fucking love that movie, and I understand that maybe it's not the greatest movie, but it has held up entertainment wise through the passage of time. Like there's so much great stuff, and he plays. It's not quite an action movie for him. Like he's not, doing everything. So he definitely leans more into the comedy. And I think the director whose name just fucking completely escaped me, Luc Besson.
Yeah.
He's so back and forth with those films because you have The Fifth Element and you've got The Professional, and then you've got so many other films that he's made, like what's the Jupiter? No, not Jupiter Ascending. That was somebody else.
I know you're talking about it. I tried to watch it and I just couldn't get.
What's the one that he made though that was complete garbage?
With the two kids, right?
Valerian and the House.
Valerian,
yeah. You're like, nope. But Fifth Element worked. Fifth Element was great. Gary Oldman, all that, and I think Bruce Willis made that movie. I think between him and Mila Jovovich, that movie was fantastic. And you had the same thing with 12 Monkeys. Like 12 Monkeys was such a cool flick. That movie was so smart.
Fifth Element is one of those movies that. We all have like albums like we can put on and push play and listen to the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like The Fifth Element, if I turn the TV on, not that I have like TV anymore because everything's on demand, but if I turn the TV on and The Fifth Element was on, I'd be like, oh, well, we're watching this because this is awesome.
Yeah.
Period. Like you don't change the channel from The Fifth Element because it's a fun show to watch.
Yeah. It was a great adventure film, and he was fun in it. And I think, Pete, you talked about him having his comedy and drama chops versus his action chops, and I think 12 Monkeys plays into the drama side of that, right? Like that was certainly not a comedy. But it was brilliant in its own way. Like it was a really smart movie. Ironically, completely not necessarily Bruce related, but they did a great Sci-Fi Channel did a great TV series.
Yes,
they spun out of 12 Monkeys. It was actually really good.
I watched a couple episodes of that. It was one that I is another one of those I started and just never went back to finish it.
Yeah,
kind of things. 12 Monkeys is tough for me because I love Bruce Willis in it. I think he's great. I think he does get a little overshadowed by Brad Pitt.
Well, I mean, yeah, who doesn't?
Well, no, not even that. I just think it's that character that I think it's Jeffrey Goins. I think is the character's name. It's just so, and Brad Pitt cast in that role. Like, there's some Brad Pitt roles that I absolutely love him in, but it could have been cast different. Like, I'm sorry, Ocean's 11. Rusty's a great character. I love the stuff that goes on between him but there's like a bunch of other actors that could have played that.
Yeah, except in that movie, I think they specifically cast him because of the chemistry with the people. Yeah. And you were going for names at that point, right?
Yeah.
But
yeah, I 12 Monkeys, man. Both of those 12 Monkeys was a mind fuck for me. It really, I can remember it was one of those. It's one of the few movies that really had me guessing till the end, and I did not see the.
Well, yeah, it's a glaring omission in my viewing history, so I'll fix.
You haven't seen 12 Monkeys.
Yes.
Okay.
And then he hasn't seen The Sixth Sense either, which is the other one I brought up. So Andrew really fucking ruined my list.
No. I'm glad.
I'm from Canada. That's why. No, I'm joking. Keep going.
No, I'm glad
they don't have good films in Canada.
You got to get your shit on point here, buddy. That's no good. That's not all right. You got to get your shit on point.
I'm glad we know that about both of those because we were about to start talking about those and more. And let's just say, okay, Bruce Willis.
No, Sixth Sense, I already know. I already know the ending, but I'm going to
okay.
Yeah.
But it's still even knowing the ending. I mean, the movie is good. And honestly, if you know the ending, it's almost more interesting to watch to see the hints that you wouldn't that you would have missed if you weren't paying attention.
Sure.
And so that works. I think 12 Monkeys. I wouldn't give anything away. I'd say
right? It's post-apocalyptic and they're in a fucking loony bin or something. That's all.
Sort of, a little bit of everything.
That's all we're gonna tell you. Just go watch it.
Yeah, I would say go watch that like soon.
I will.
It's a good one. But yeah, I think all in all, I think he's had a hell of a career. Like it sucks that it's over. I hope that, by taking the time off, from what I've read, aphasia isn't something that you can really stop, but maybe if he can, sit and calm down, maybe it'll at least slow a little so he can spend some time with his family before, things get too difficult. Um, it is a bummer that he won't be making any more movies, but he's had a hell of a run, and he had a great appearance on Friends.
Yes, Paul. Just again, his comedic chops. When Bruce is being funny, I really feel like he's at his best. I feel like, and I think that to me maybe why the whole Die Hard series really actually started going downhill.
Oh.
You can say what you want about the scripts and the just the whole plot and everything else.
It's a formulaic series. Like you have to have X, Y, and Z to make a Die Hard movie work.
But I think Bruce at that point didn't feel like John McClane anymore, because I think he at that point he's played so many action hero roles in that kind of vein. And okay, so like a good Day to Die Hard, I think, is like the most recent one, or whichever one it is. I think with a little retooling, that actually could have been an okay action movie, not as a Die Hard film. Like, you have to retool it, get it some different ways, but it's actually, the script isn't that bad. It's because they keep trying to make it a Die Hard film. So you keep putting Bruce Willis, this old ass fucking man, in these ridiculous ass situations.
I know that's happened with at least one Die Hard film where, and it's one of the things that happens in Hollywood, is somebody writes a script, and it's a great script, and then somebody comes in and buys a script and says, you know what, this would make a great Die Hard movie, and then they fucking change it. And I actually had this conversation, I think, with my wife the other day. Something else, some other fucking movie is being remade again for like the umpteenth time that we're remaking a series or a show. And I was like, dude, what pisses me off is that I know that there's screenwriters out there writing original shit, and we're passing them up for something with a name that people will recognize.
Yeah.
And it's really unfortunate. Like, I would rather see new, or give me a fucking Stranger Things before a reboot of some 80s show. Give me, fucking Miss Maisel before a reboot of something. Like, give me good original shit and not reboots.
So Kevin, two things. Like, I know Cloverfield Paradox was an example of that. The third Cloverfield movie had nothing to do with Cloverfield. They fucking just hated a Cloverfield movie. It was awful, number one, except for the end. Number two, the thing that I also didn't like about Die Hard 4 and 5 was that they were PG-13. I feel like part of the appeal of Die Hard movies for me was the fact they were rated R. So when they were PG-13, I was like, this isn't Die Hard. Like, so I had zero interest to go in personally.
Yeah, you need to be essentially uncensored. Like, it needs to feel like
grit.
Anything can happen.
Yes.
He can say anything. He can talk like a real person. Like, that's the one thing that I love about streaming shows right now, is because they're not limited to the rating systems that regular television is, and not necessarily that you need to have a ton of profanity, but somebody sometimes just needs to be able to say fuck and not have it change the complete rating of the show. Like, people say fuck. Like, that's what it is. So.
Totally true. I will tell you, I'm going to go back to Channing Tatum right now to White House Down. Like, I feel like that was a great example of where we could have had John McClane. Like, Channing Tatum could have taken the mantle of John McClane in White House Down.
And then driven it into the ground.
No.
He can't act. He's a terrible actor. He's like John Cena.
Whether he can act or not, but I mean,
no, I think Channing Tatum's a better actor than John Cena.
Oh yeah,
maybe.
Well, no, because I'm saving my discussion about the Peacemaker for next week.
Oh, that's such a good. Well, okay, save it or not.
Gunn being good, not John Cena being good.
Just
although I will say, there's a scene that John Cena completely improvised, and knowing that is impressive.
We're going to talk about that next week, because I again got a lot to say about that one.
Andrew.
Yeah, no, you were asking earlier, I think in the pre-show, who could be like another Bruce Willis, right? I was trying to think of an example. Okay, so I thought it, then I took it away, but I was thinking, who could be a John McClane in a movie, like take the world on by himself? What about Mark Wahlberg? I feel like he can do comedy and he can do action.
Yeah, he could do it. He could totally pull it off. I totally agree with
He's a
that.
tough guy.
I could see Wahlberg. I could see
Wayne from
Cena.
Letterkenny.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah, actually, I could see that too. Actually,
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
he's got a physique for it. He's got the motion. You know, the dude's athletic. You know, I think the demeanor, I think, is there. When you look at Wayne, like that character, you think about how McClane acts in a lot of ways. Now it's a good update because that street tough New York City cop, we're past that. Like, that's not cool anymore. You know, or I'll go way out on a limb, and I wouldn't actually want to see this, but fuck Ryan Reynolds.
I said that shit earlier.
You know what though? Ryan Reynolds is too over the top. I love Ryan Reynolds. Like, Ryan Reynolds is I've been a fan since I saw Van Wilder for the first time. But
and that's what was amazing about the Adam Project, which is another thing I watched that we'll talk about next week.
I think you already talked about that one.
No, we talked about it. This idiot hadn't watched it yet, and then decided to watch it.
Okay, got it.
And then
I will tell you, Bruce, Die Hard is one of the few franchises that I would care to see continued on, but via a reboot, like via somebody else, like
a new James Bond.
I don't need that.
Yeah, like I don't know. It's
at least
good.
James Bond had like a bunch of books for source material, right? Like there's a reason for too many James Bond movies. There's not a reason for too many Die Hard movies. Because if you want to see the next Die Hard movie, go watch fucking The Rock's movie where he fucking like that was Die Hard, and it wasn't good. Like there's a chemistry that you have to make that movie work. And as soon as it's gone, you have Die Hard 4, you know, and that was with the original people. So if you reboot it, just don't call it Die Hard. Make the next movie that's the same idea, same kind of idea, but just don't fucking call it Die Hard.
Well, no, it's you hit it right on, Kevin. You hit it right on the head. After the first three, realistically, subsequent Die Hard films weren't really Die Hard films. Right. There was no inherent
reason, because Hans Gruber's brother's dead. You know?
Exactly, like that. That's it. It's over. All of a sudden, it's shit's just rolling downhill. And oh, look, his son works for the CIA, whatever the fuck that bullshit was. And then
Live for your Die Hard. I think that's
okay. That was just
PG-13.
Those were exactly, but those were, like you said, Kevin. I guarantee you, those were scripts like that. I like what you're thinking, Andy, but I think the character of John McClane in and of itself just needs to go to bed.
New York guy who's experiencing culture shock in Los Angeles where his wife works with a cushy job, and it's like New York tough meets like frou-frou German like terrorists. It was a perfect mash of his just, you know, it was like the 80s John Wayne or something, like just like it was great. And in the second film, it's like just following his shit. How is the same shit keep happening to the same guy, you know?
Exactly.
And it's just like that was a good conceit. And then the third one is I'm his fucking brother. It was a trilogy.
The third one made sense. Like he's being hunted down because of what he did to.
Yes. Yeah, they're stealing something in New York, and they're using John McClane as a way to get this done.
Mm-hmm.
It works. It works.
But I will say, as someone who loved the movies, like if there was a way, just because something's hard doesn't mean it's impossible. So I do think that, you know, no pun intended, by the way, with the hard thing. So if we were a production company and Andy, you know, it was in the room, we were talking in the writer's room, let's figure out a way to reboot this shit. I still think I would try to figure it out. If we can't figure it out, we can't figure it out. Let's at least try, you know, because it's Americana, man. I love it.
The other issue that you have, and this is what the problem that I have with the reboot too, is if you're going to put the name on it, it better be fucking good.
Yes.
You know, like that's the other problem. Like if you're gonna make a Die Hard movie, and that's not to say that Die Hard is necessarily a good movie. It is a very entertaining movie. It's for
It's
what it was,
iconic.
it's a good movie.
classic.
It's a good movie, Kevin.
It is.
It's a good movie.
Sure, let's say
Okay.
it.
No,
Just-
no,
just-
hold
just
on,
for the
hold
sake-
on, hold on, hold on. No, no,
Whoa,
no, no,
whoa,
no, no.
whoa, whoa, whoa,
Kevin,
whoa,
no,
whoa.
I'm gonna come down on Kevin's side with this. It's a good movie for
It's a good
what
action
it is.
movie. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good action movie. But are you telling me
no,
that that movie
100%.
should have been like an Oscar
Academy
winner
Award.
or anything like that? That's what I'm saying. Like it's
Right,
not a
no.
great movie,
But
but it's a
the-
good action movie.
I
It
think
was
it-
good for what it was.
Yes, it was. If
Um,
you look through the '80s, and only because I recently watched Commando, which we can talk about next week.
Dude, classic.
Yeah, but a horrible fucking turd.
Oh, really? Now I gotta watch it again.
Yeah, it's
Really?
it's so fucking bad.
What?
Yeah, we'll talk about that one next week. If you look at what was going on in action movies around that time,
Mhm.
Die Hard does
Predator.
easily stand out
Yeah.
as like the
Yeah,
top
for sure.
echelon of those. But I agree with you, Kevin. It's not like if you actually look at it, it's not. I mean, it's not like some.
But the
opus.
cinematography is even good. Like it visually looks great.
That's what I'm
know?
saying. For an action movie,
Yeah.
it is.
I'm just saying, like it's not
Top
fucking
shelf.
My Left Foot. It's not Dances with Wolves, right? We're talking about an action movie. So
Wait,
for
wait,
what
wait,
it
but
was,
here's
it
my
was a
here's my
good movie.
counterpart though. Is there an action movie that actually is like cinematic, like cinema? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, or is it the trappings of the genre that's weighing it down?
a
Brokeback
little bit
Mountain.
of both. I mean, yeah. I mean,
It's an
yeah.
action movie to me.
which one?
Brokeback Mountain.
He's being an
Yeah.
asshole.
There's
I
some
know.
action in that. But yeah, I think for what it was a solid movie. But I think it is an iconic movie. So if you were to say, oh, we're going to reboot Die Hard, here's John
Better
McClane,
not fuck up. Yeah.
you can't retell the same story because everybody already knows it. So you can't do that. And like you said, I don't know that we're in a position where the John McClane character retold is that interesting anymore.
No. Yeah,
You
you
know?
gotta. You gotta have some sort of like cultural exchange, like where it's like, I don't know. I'm just like throwing shit out my ass, like uh, an American in London, like an American goes to London but it's the same kind of thing. It's like the spouse was working in London, and now you're like an American, but you have to work with like Interpol, whatever the fuck is out there.
Yeah.
And it's like a French terrorist or something. Like, yeah, but you gotta have but it's gotta work. It's gotta be believable.
Mhm.
But yeah, because I love the interplay, because there is such a difference between, as you know, the East Coast and the West Coast. And now being a New Yorker, I now appreciate more of John's fish out of water feeling, like going to the Nakatomi building and being like, oh, this is how they get down. But in New York, you go back, it's no longer the blue filter. It's more of a brown filter for New York, and it's more gritty and dirty. And you got Samuel L. just representing the Harlem bit. Oh, I love how film can be such a time
Jesus.
capsule. Oh,
Yeah.
dude, we're almost
Hey,
done.
Zeus.
How are
No,
we
my
doing on
name is
time?
Zeus.
We're good. We're good. I think we're at a wrapping up point. I think we've covered Bruce to as much as we can cover old Brucey. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see who the next guy is that is the Bruce type. I don't know that that is necessarily anybody we're seeing right now. I think, actually, funny enough, I do think Wayne from Letterkenny would be great at it, but I don't think he's on that trajectory right now. I think somebody would have to scoop him up and put him in the right role, and then have that take. But I mean, at the same time, that's what happened with Bruce Willis, right? Like he was the guy from Moonlighting, and he was the 85th pick to play John McClane, and now we're basically saying nobody else should ever play John McClane, right? Like,
Right?
it just doesn't work. He ended up being the perfect guy for the role. So yeah, I mean, somebody will come along, somebody will do that, but for right now, it's Bruce's title to hold.
Amen.
So yeah,
His presence in cinema will be missed. I will
for
say
sure,
that.
for sure,
I
for sure.
I mean, we kind of I poke lightweight fun at his the last 7 movies he's got coming out here, but you know, when you're his age and you're a certain type of actor, just make the little action movie. And you know what? I bet honestly, if I watched a couple of those, they're probably not so bad.
Yeah, one or
Probably
two
not
of
so-
them, it's probably decent.
Yeah, there he hasn't really been in anything other than I think North was just a pile of crap. And he was only the narrator, so it doesn't really matter. But he really hasn't been in anything that you look at and you go,
Stinker.
that movie was bad. Even like I joked earlier, The Jackal with him, and I think it's Sylvester Stallone is the one hunting him. I don't know. It's some other action.
No, he's the assassin
That's right.
in the
I just remember
Jackal.
that scene. It's because I remember the scene where he uses the robotic gun to blow up Jack Black's hand. This is an
Mhm.
early Jack Black movie. Yeah, it's the cinema landscape will be kind of at
Lighter.
a huge loss.
Yeah,
For sure.
yeah. I mean, I think on the one hand, like realistically, his career is probably close to coming to an end, anyways. But to see somebody be forced out is the downside, right? Like he doesn't have a choice now.
Well, it's a bummer because you want to, like, he's at that point now where he's starting to age a little bit. I don't want Bruce Willis as my hero anymore.
Yeah,
Like, he's at the point where I'm ready for Bruce Willis to be the bad guy. Like, I'm ready for him to be the bad guy in the movie. Like, you know, and granted, I have to see, he's in what's it's what, Unbreakable,
Yes. Trilogy.
Shattered, Split, and then Glass.
Which is
So
well.
I have to see. It is.
The Glass was a disappointment to me.
That's
yeah, it was not good.
Yeah.
Split was okay.
I
Unbreakable
like
was definitely
Split.
the best of the three. Yeah.
You know
Well,
what's funny?
Split worked because what's his face was amazing.
McAvoy.
James
Yeah,
McAvoy.
McAvoy was awesome.
Yeah.
No, I actually hadn't seen Unbreakable, so I saw Split first, and then went back to watch Unbreakable. And it would, and they do feel like they're in the same universe, but they feel like two different movies, because Unbreakable, you can tell, is that big budget Hollywood film, whereas Split has more of that, you know, what's it called? Not Bloomberg, but whatever it's called, like that company. Like it's smaller, but it's like, yeah, McAvoy is just dude.
Yeah.
So
I think
then
what made Unbreakable special was that it was a superhero that wasn't a superhero, right? Like he was just a normal dude.
Yes.
Who happened to be special.
Well,
you know, and
yeah, that story, it's an interesting story because it actually gives us, I think at least that I can remember, it's really the first time we see on screen the idea of what would happen in real life.
Yes.
If someone had superpower, if just a random ass dude suddenly was unbreakable.
And,
you know,
and his powers, what was cool too is his powers were so subtle, right? Like
exactly.
That he didn't even know. He didn't know until his kid noticed that he's never been sick. He doesn't get hurt. He can fucking, then they start pumping him up and he's like, you know, turns out, yeah, he's super strong.
But the pool shit was just wow. Anyway, yeah, that we know his weakness now. Like it was.
Yeah,
it was
I think M. Night Shyamalan's afraid of water.
Yeah, right.
You know, like
between Signs and Lady in the Water. Yeah,
yeah. He's got some issues with water. Maybe his parents tried to drown him when he was young.
Could be right.
But yeah, I think that's what we've got for the week. I think we covered a lot of shit. But otherwise, I think we're good. So to all the people at home, I don't know what you're going to see or hear based on what my Zoom decided to do. It could be a big fucking mess with some gaps in the middle. It could be perfection, as one would expect from a show that we make.
Yeah, buddy.
But we'll put something together. And if you've made it to the end, we really appreciate it, because there's a very good chance it'll be a very confusing episode. So as always, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for downloading. Thank you for putting up with Pete. You know, only one person actually has to do it, and I'm sure she's looking for a way out, but she hasn't found it yet. So Christy, we all pray for you all the time. And yeah, have a great week, and we'll talk to you next week.
Cheers, guys.
Bawi Grana Weep Minibon.
Ba weep grana weep minibon. You are the man till all are one.
I will say, am I the only person who saw Morbius?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
probably
did
in the
I did
world.
like read up on the trailers. I mean the post credits scene, so I know what happens. So
That sounds even more stupid than the rest of the movie.
oh, you
It's
saw
like-
that too?
Yeah, I saw with the post credit scene. Them so yeah.
It's
We can talk about that when we really get
Yeah.
going too. But I just never really saw anything that made the movie look interesting. And again, my situation, if I can't take my kids to go see it, I'm not going to drive all the way to the theater to go see it. So it's not worth, especially with gas prices being like, I don't know, $75 a gallon or whatever it is now.
Jesus Christ.
Believe it or
I can't
not,
even.
I was
in
actually
LA, it's like $8.
I was gonna say, believe it or not, I wanted to see it until I saw the fucking headlines. To me, the trailers were okay. I was like, oh, okay, this looks dark. Okay, like Jared Leto finally, like maybe you're gonna get fucking redemption, but no, it's just like fucking meme. Worst movie.
It's so weird to me that he is a good actor, but his movies are almost always bad.
Now, Deep Thoughts by Andy.
I mean, so let's compare it to Venom. Let's compare it to another Sony property that's
Which
not
was
Spider-Man.
also bad.
What? Fuck yourself. Venom was
Dude,
great.
Venom is bad, dude. Venom is bad.
Oh,
There
no.
there is zero chemistry in a love interest. Like, that was one of the worst things I've ever seen. Dude, Venom was bad. I saw that in the theater and I was like, that was not good. That was not good.
I think I've probably watched Venom 10 times. No, maybe not 10, maybe 6. I truly enjoy Venom. If it's on,
I mean,
I'm
did you ever read the comics?
Yeah, for
Like,
sure.
like why is Venom a bumbling idiot monster? Like, he was like comic relief. It was
took liberties with it.
horrible, dude. I do not trust Sony at all. Like,
I don't either.
I'm over Sony. Like, I don't understand why they are sitting there with Marvel at the table and all of Marvel's money. Because look at any other Spider-Man movie and look at how much money No Way Home made. Look at how much money all the other ones made. Like, it's just, I don't get it. I don't understand why they're not just partnering up and splitting the money. Let Kevin Feige tell them what to do, because what they do sucks.
I can't disagree with you there for sure. But I enjoyed Venom for sure.
Well,
Andrew, where are you on Venom? What's your story on Venom?
So I saw both Venom and Venom 2. And I'll be honest, Venom I liked more than I thought I would, actually. I thought that Venom was a serviceable movie. Basically, if the MCU didn't exist, then Venom would have been a decent, like, 90s level, early 2000s comic book film. But because the MCU exists, like, step your fucking game up. Otherwise, why are you doing this shit? That's my attitude.
The other problem that I had with it is Venom makes no sense without Spider-Man.
I've
just dropping Venom in there, the symbiote in there, and leaving Spider-Man completely out of it is wrong. Like, it's just wrong. Like, if you couldn't get somebody to play Spider-Man and spin that off and do it the right way, they shouldn't have done it.
Well, again, it's all ego and fucking thinking that they know what they're doing when they fucking don't. It's like, we don't need Spider-Man. We can just make our own villains gallery over here at Sony because we're awesome. Like, no, you're not. You fucking suck.
Yeah.
And the second film was just like, it was a bit painful. And they upped the comic relief aspect of Venom, like where he literally is just a fucking clown. And so but the movie made money. And I actually did like the end credits for Venom 2. So I'm just kind of like on Venom. I'm not like, oh my God,